Hello and good afternoon and welcome to UBC News Roundup, where we take a look at the stories that made headlines throughout the week. It is the 27th day of June 2021. I'm Lauryn, Masika, Kazimoto. Now we start off with our first headlining story. This afternoon, President Museveni declared Friday this week a public holiday and prayers for COVID-19 tense situation. He explained that the main aim of the lockdown is to reduce the numbers coming together that would escalate COVID-19 infection. The prayers were held at State House in Entebbe to seek for God's intervention in the fight against the deadly virus. We have the details.
President Museveni declared this Friday a public holiday to enable the country join in prayer to overcome the deadly COVID-19 pandemic that is currently ravaging the country in the second wave.
Give us a fresh commitment during these trying times to transform our country.
The virtual celebrations were held at State House in Entebbe and other prayer centers that joined via Zoom. The Bishop of Ankole Diocese, Dr. Fred Sheldon Mwesigwa, who was the main preacher, urged Ugandans to trust in the Lord and follow the government guidelines to overcome this pandemic.
If God is for us, who can be against us? I was amazed at the scripture which was read by the Mufti, the Holy Quran, chapter, you call them chapters? 3, Surat 160, that one. If Allah helps you, none can overcome you. And if he forsakes you, who is there after him that can help you? And in Allah alone, let believers put their trust. Read Romans chapter 8, verse 31. If God is for us, who can be against us? Are they any different? So we are joining together today to call on our God to be for us.
Speaking to the country, President Museveni assured Ugandans that the virus is avoidable and there will be no more if Ugandans adhere to the set guidelines, especially on avoiding crowds.
Because you see, the whole strategy of avoiding is reducing numbers. Akakodyo kali mukendeze numbers z'abantu. Now, if you say this is essential, this is essential, this is essential, when so many are essential, then what do? Are you reducing the numbers or what? Because that's the issue. The issue is the numbers and the oxembergana to get near one another. That's all. So the issue is avoid. This virus is avoidable. It's avoidable. But if we don't do what we are supposed to do, then we cannot only say pray and no effort. I reject that. I reject the idea pray, make mistakes and then come and pray.
The Minister of Health, Dr. Jane Ruth Acheng, said their plan is to vaccinate 29 million Ugandans before business fully returns to normal.
Government, with your support, Your Excellency, is doing all it takes to ensure the country gets all the vaccines. The country is expecting 2 more modest consignments of 688,800 doses and 285,600 doses in the first week of July and in mid-July. Your Excellency, the current resurgence of the pandemic that began slowly at the end of March 2021 is driven by the entry and rapid propagation of the very aggressive and very virulent variants.
Museveni assured the country that Ugandan scientists are working tirelessly to have our own vaccine, which will deal with all the variants affecting Ugandans.
Our people are also working on the vaccines, our own vaccine, because even these vaccines we are importing, they don't cover all the variants. Even we who are vaccinated for the other one now, there's a new one now. So that's why we need to, you cannot say, because I was vaccinated, therefore, no, there's a new variant, a new clan. which you may not be able to, which the vaccine does not cover. But ours, our own vaccine which we are making, will cover all the known variants. We are working on it.
The Vice President, Jessica Lupo, Prime Minister Robin Anabanja, and the Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Anita Mong-Anet, were among the few guests in attendance. To date, Uganda has registered 76,562 COVID-19 cases, 50,702 have recovered, while 830 have died. Bernard Higa, UBC News.
Now, President Yoweri Museveni this week set 5 tough targets for the new cabinet. The targets include fighting corruption, service delivery, East Africa integration, and patriotism. Museveni also wants the new cabinet to be a government of cohesion. He revealed the targets to the new cabinet as they were sworn in at Kololo ceremonial grounds in Kampala.
Swear in the name of the Almighty God.
The swearing-in ceremony that kicked off at about midday started with the Vice President, retired Major Jessica Alupo, who replaced Edward Chiwanuka Sekandi, the first to take oath.
Serve, protect, and defend the Constitution and observe the laws of Uganda, and that I shall promote the welfare of the people of Uganda. So help me God.
Prime Minister designate Robin Anabanja, who replaced Dr. Rukahana Rugunda, followed.
And shall uphold, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and observe the laws of Uganda, and that I shall promote the welfare of people of Uganda. So help me God.
Second Deputy Prime Minister General Moses Ali followed suit in chronological order to take oath.
That I shall faithfully exercise the functions of the Deputy Prime Minister of Uganda, and shall uphold, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and observe the laws of Uganda, and that I shall promote the welfare of the people of Uganda.
The first Prime Minister, who is the former Speaker of Parliament Rebecca Kadaga, Investments Minister Evelyn Anite, and Minister for Presidency Babalanda were among 18 ministers who missed out on the swearing-in ceremony. In his address to the new cabinet, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni tasked the new cabinet on 5 key targets that includes fighting corruption and integration of East Africa.
So please, if you want to be durable leaders, don't accept any favor from anybody. Don't seek favor, don't accept any, even if they give it to you. And don't tolerate corruption under you. So the second mission of this cabinet is no corruption. No corruption. The third mission is integration. We are working on the unit of East Africa. That's why I put my young sister, Rebecca Kadaga, Deputy Prime Minister, Minister for East Africa, assisted by Ikuya Magode. You know Ikuya Magode?
Others are questioned among the ministers are service delivery and patriotism.
We are supervising ourselves because of commitment. Nobody should be in the public if you don't have a public spirit. And if you are the supervisor, me, I cannot tolerate anybody under me. Once I detect that, out, you go. Because if I tolerate you, I am endangering the system. So patriotism. Then number 5, this government must be a government of service delivery. Because there is economic development, but there is service delivery, education, health, the roads. I don't want to hear anymore all these outcries. The issue of justice, land.
He also urged the ministers to promote his campaign of doing farming for both eating and for money to push Uganda to middle-income country.
The biggest good news in the last budget, which was not so much highlighted because these civil servants who write those documents, their understanding is distorted, is the decline of the Abakorra Echida Chonka, the ones teach me each keken, those who work only for the stomach. You remember, I have been shouting since 2013, I've been shouting about the 68% of the homesteads which were still in the non-money economy. According to Rugorovi's speech the other day, which was written by these wonderful civil servants, only 39% now of, of the homesteads, according to the recent household survey, are still in the non-money economy.
The swearing in of the new cabinet is an activation of Uganda's economy since the country has been without cabinet for about 2 months. Philip Aguta, UBC News in Kololo.
President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni has thanked the new second Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of East African Affairs, Rebecca Kadaga, for accepting to put aside her sense of entitlement and listen to his advice to serve. Museveni spoke shortly after Kadaga took oath of allegiance at State House Nakasero. Take a look.
Right Honorable Rebecca Kadaga was among the several ministers who missed out as other ministers took oath at Kolo Independence Grounds on Monday, citing COVID-19 protocols. The former Speaker of Parliament, flanked by relatives, today took her oath of office as the first Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of East African Affairs before the President at State House Nakasero.
I, Rebecca Aritwara Kadaga, being appointed Deputy Prime Minister of Uganda, swear in the name of the Almighty God that I will at all times well and truly serve the Republic of Uganda in the office of the Deputy Prime Minister, and I will support and uphold the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda as by law established. And I will, to the best of my judgment, at all times when required, freely give my counsel and advice to the President of Uganda and his successors in office as by law established for the good management of the public affairs of the Republic of Uganda, and that I will not directly or indirectly reveal any matter as shall come to my knowledge in the discharge of my duties and committed to my secrecy. So help me God.
Speaking shortly after the swearing in, President Museveni praised Kadaga for her modesty and humility and for listening to his advice to serve in that capacity as second Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for East African Affairs.
I want to congratulate my young sister. This time when I made these proposals, because she was already Speaker of Parliament, which is a high post according to this constitution we are operating, number 3 after President, Vice President, Speaker, Chief Justice. But although I didn't give her all the reasons, I told her that I had very strong reasons why I wanted us to reorganize. And I proposed this. And although I had not given her all the reasons, she agreed, and I want to congratulate her. Blessed are the humble, for the kingdom of heaven is theirs.
Museveni also thanked Kadaga for sticking to NRM since her early days of leadership, something that has seen her rise in ranks of the party leadership.
One of the people who rallied to the NRM quite early when the NRM had come into government. I know that she started in the LOC system, in the village committees, until she came to the NRC. And she has been in the parliament almost continuously since that time. Then later on, she became deputy speaker of parliament for a number of years until we elected her as speaker for the last 10 years. On the party side, she's the first deputy chairperson after myself and Haichi Gongo for the national.
The Vice President Jessica Lupo and the Prime Minister Robin Nabanja were also in attendance. According to public service protocols, the swearing in of ministers is very important for cabinet to formally start government business. Bernard Higa, UBC News.
Prime Minister Robina Nabanja this week vowed to prove wrong anyone who doubted her capacity through steering a united and focused cabinet. Nabanja, who described the new cabinet as gender-sensitive, challenged ministers to regularly attend Parliament to ensure issues raised by constituency representatives are responded to. This was during Prime Minister Dr. Ruhakana Rugunda's handover.
Let us arise to welcome the Right Honourable Prime Ministers.
History has been made. The first woman to become Prime Minister of Uganda has officially assumed the office.
I will sanitize.
Very good.
Robina Nabanja is the fourth to become Prime Minister since Uganda returned to multi-party politics in 2005. She follows in the footsteps of late Apollon Sivambi, Amama Mbabazi, and Dr. Ruhakana Rugunda. She wants to see a united cabinet for effective service delivery.
I did not expect to be in this office. But let me tell you, the courage I have, together with you members, many things are going to change.
These comments came just shortly after taking over from Prime Minister Emeritus Dr. Ruhakana Rugunda. He expressed confidence in Nabanja's capacity to deliver on her new role.
Prime Minister Robin Nabanja has special credentials. And the first credential that I want to stress is having both the practice and the knowledge of grassroots work.
It is this same capacity that she promises to apply to prove the disbelieving Ugandans wrong.
Some people were calling me a villager. Yes. Others were like, she can't even be a CEO of a garbage company. We have to prove that we are not that type.
Surrounded by both men and women, the office of the Prime Minister is made up of Deputy Prime Ministers, Cabinet Ministers, and Ministers of State. Of these, majority are women, making it gender sensitive.
Are you aware that we have started 7 women ministers? Started 7. And that is 45% of the total cabinet. It has never taken place. So let us give a big applause to NRM government.
However, gender sensitivity may not be enough without teamwork. This was one of the appeals made by Dr. Rugunda to the incoming Prime Minister.
All those could not have been achieved without the cooperation of different ministries, different agencies. Have we made progress or not? The answer is yes.
To be able to achieve the above ambitions, we must effectively get coordinated now.
This commitment is in line with the expectations of the President from the new cabinet, as highlighted on Monday during the swearing-in of the new ministers.
Now we have got a parliament for the next 5 years, and now we have got a cabinet. So we are set now.
Robin Nabbanja was appointed Prime Minister of Uganda on the 8th of June 2021, alongside Jessica Alupo as Vice President, among other appointed ministers. They have since been successfully vetted by Parliament and subsequently sworn in. Henry Okrut, UBC.
Now, market leaders in Kalerwe were this week asked to promote sanitation to avoid risks associated with the spread of COVID-19. This was during distribution of mosquito nets at Kalerwe Market, where Prime Minister Robin Nabbanja urged vendors to embrace SOPs to avoid getting to ICU.
Right Honorable, I have two requests to the market leaders. One is about sanitation. COVID and sanitation go together. Let us ensure that the toilets are clean, even for the people who are staying here, and that water is available, because they need to wash hands at all times.
The place around Kalerwe Market is busy, but not without caution. The isolation by these fruit vendors is one of the clear indications that there is adherence to standard operating procedures against COVID-19. It is this kind of caution that Prime Minister Robin Nabbanja emphasized as she arrived at Kalerwe Market in Kampala.
Maskienu bwogiteekako owulira tossa bulungi ni fakiti emalako emirembe naye tekyenkanankana ng'omuntu ali emulago ssaawa zino ng'aliira mu nseke.
This she said as she launched the distribution of mosquito nets to save market vendors from suffering from malaria.
Yes, our people are going through a difficult time. In fact, they are struggling to survive and also provide the foodstuffs to our people, and therefore that's why the President directed that we give them bed nets.
The distribution of these mosquito nets is in line with one of the recent presidential directives against COVID-19. It was directed that market vendors spent their nights at their respective areas of operation. This created the need for mosquito nets.
I'm happy that today we have been able to cover Kalerwe, Nakasero is covered, and many other markets are going to be covered.
It is important that as we protect ourselves from COVID-19, we also remember that there are other disease conditions and we seek medical care accordingly.
Similarly, Minister Jane Acheng warns against misinformation on COVID-19 concoctions, warning of possible health consequences.
I want to make a humble appeal. Please, take lemon as you were doing before. Tangawuzi in your tea or food as you were doing before. Avoid this mixing everything, blending, and taking very toxic substances. We don't want the pandemic to go, then you have other diseases.
At least 620 mosquito nets have been distributed in Kalerwe Market, a gesture welcomed by vendors.
naye ensiri zibadde zituluma emisujja gibadde gitandise otulumba nga tulina okweraliikira omusujja okulumako nti covid atuuse naye tulina essanyu okubeera nga gavumenti etukoledde enteekateeka y'akatimba bannaye tweyanziza bannakaleero tukikubirako mu ngalo.
The Ministry of Health is targeting distribution of 5,000 mosquito nets in Kampala to avoid risks that come with effects of malaria. Henry Okurut, UBC.
The Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Anita Among, this week appealed to ex-official MPs to always attend House sessions to avoid delaying action on concerns by constituents. The Deputy Speaker made the call while presiding over the swearing-in of non-elected members of Parliament who were recently appointed ministers in the new cabinet. The Minister of Education and Sports, Janet Kataha Museveni, was among those that were sworn in.
The arrival of the Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Anita Among, was expected. She was here to oversee the fulfillment of this constitutional requirement.
I, Janet Kataha Museveni, swear in the name of the Almighty God that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Republic of Uganda.
The oath taken by these recently appointed ministers at Parliament was officially to make them members of the House.
And that I will preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. So help me God.
I want to take this opportunity to congratulate you upon your appointment to the various ministries and welcome you to the 11th Parliament. I'm looking forward to working with you.
They were challenged to regularly attend sessions, an appeal emphasized by Government Chief Whip Thomas Tayewa.
There is a tendency of members of Parliament, of ministers, not attending the House. Ministers, kindly attend the House, represent your people, and your ex-officials. It's about catching the eye of the appointing authority. So you must perform to your best for you to be able to maybe catch the eye of the appointing authority next time and your people in the village.
The ex-officials are the easiest people because they bring in special contribution to the cabinet. Of course, we will take them through procedures of Parliament. Some are former MPs, they already know, but most of them are already exposed.
Comprising both cabinet and state ministers, these members of the Ugandan cabinet pledged to right all wrongs in service delivery. Grace Kuyuchwin, the state minister for northern Uganda, was one of them.
So help me God. We had already planned and we had already budgeted. We had already interacted with many stakeholders in northern Uganda. And key this time will be commercial agriculture, intervention of the stakeholders for investment in factories, and employment creation in northern Uganda.
I'm going to work for unity in Kampala. We are going to work as a team with all other stakeholders, and I promise, since I was born in Kampala, I've been in Kampala for so many years, I've studied in Kampala, all my politics has been in Kampala. I promise that we shall work and we are going to prosper Kampala.
The new members of cabinet were named in early June, among who included these ex-officials who are not directly elected members of Parliament. They have since been vetted, sworn in, and some have officially assumed the office. Henry Okurut, UBC.
Honorable Sam Kutesa this week handed over office to his predecessor, General J.J. Odong, as Minister for Foreign Affairs after serving 3 consecutive terms as Foreign Affairs Minister. Both Sam Kutesa and J.J. Odong thanked President Museveni for allowing them to serve Ugandans. The handover ceremony took place at the Foreign Affairs Ministry in Kampala.
Handing over to the Honorable General Odong as Minister of Foreign Affairs of Uganda. I want to thank first and foremost President Museveni for giving me an opportunity to serve in this ministry for the last nearly 13 years.
That foreign affairs is the face of the country, and that responsibility and challenge is not lost on me. I will therefore try my best to fit into the bill that Honorable Kutesa has been carrying.
The National Unity Platform this week elected Butambala County MP Muwanga Chivumbi as their chairman, Buganda Parliamentary Caucus, with the biggest membership of 98 MPs in the National Assembly, kicking out Mukono District Woman Representative Betty Namboze, who had walked out of the meeting held in the Members' Lounge in protest. Addressing the media shortly after his endorsement by NUP MPs, Muwanga Chivumbi pledged to unite Buganda and issued a stance warning to government over land disputes in the region.
Legislators on National Unity Platform Party spent better hours of Tuesday in a closed-door meeting at Parliament, convincing 3 other members to step down in favor of Muwanga Chivumbi, MP Butambala County, for Buganda Caucus chairperson. Others who wanted to contest from NUP include Mukono Municipality MP Betty Namboze and Rubaga South MP Aloysius Mukasa.
So people can be disconcerted, but when we have agreed as a group that this is the way we should move and also follow our party constitution, when somebody does not agree with that, it's understandable, because like I'm saying, maybe they were very interested in this seat and so on, but eventually we shall bring them on board and move together, because that's important. At the end of the day, yes, you'll be disappointed, you've not gotten this seat or whatever, but there's plenty of room for all of us to serve.
Addressing the media shortly after his endorsement by NUP MPs, Muwanga Chivumbi pledged to unite Buganda and push for accountability from government over land ownership.
We make a lot of noise about Milo land. How about what they call Akenda? Because land in Uganda is divided into 2. The first one are the 8,000 that were given to the chiefs and what we call Akanana. The second one is Akenda, the 9,000. Is it Akenda is 9,000 square miles. Those are what we call public land. That public land for the last so many years has been in the trust and custody of the central government. Now, as we talk about land eviction, land tenure system, we want an accountability for the last so many years. Who now owns part of the 9,000 square miles? We want the Uganda Land Commission to account for every square inch of the 9,000 before they go for the Milo land.
He also promises to deal with unemployment and environmental degradation once he goes through the election to become chairperson Buganda Caucus.
Buganda and Central Region is one of the areas where there is extreme environmental degradation, and we want to put that issue at the forefront. The question of unemployment, most of our people are the ones that are going for Cheyo and all the other stuff. So we want to ensure we press all these issues.
It's not a done deal. Muwanga Chivumbi of NUP now faces tight competition from those who will contest from NRM party, DPFDC. The winner will now become chairperson Buganda Caucus. Philip Aguta, UBC News in Parliament.
Now, a number of Ugandans have died in hospitals due to COVID-19, and many are currently battling for their lives in numerous intensive care units without family by their side, but with doctors and nurses in steady company of beeping machines. With unprecedented and intimate access, UBC TV goes inside the intensive care unit at Mulago National Referral Hospital.
The silence here is frightening.
punctuated by a steady beep of machines doing what patients can no longer do, natural breathing. Inside these heavily sedated rooms, there are no visiting families. The health personnel brush the patient's teeth, change their catheters, and hold their hands in good and bad moments. This is the front line in the fight against COVID-19.
In the ICU, we tend to everything. If the patient is on a ventilator, that means mechanically ventilated. That means we have to make sure that they still continue to receive the appropriate levels of oxygen. We monitor that, we feed them, we make sure they are urinating well, we change their positions, we keep them, because usually such patients are kept in a medically induced coma.
Uganda is dealing with the negative consequences of the second wave of the virus, and in just 2 months, the number of infections has increased by 17-fold, whereas the deaths have also more than doubled.
Probably 1,000 patients tested positive, so that means we are more likely to get patients who need high dependence unit services and ICU services. So in a pandemic of this nature, what will usually happen is the number of patients we are receiving are going to overwhelm the resources that we may currently have, and that eventually leads to more people dying. So over the last 1 week, we've admitted so many patients in our ICU, and they are all, as all ICU patients are, they are critically ill.
The situation is not different at the hospital's high dependence unit wards. The same is being reported at the private hospitals across the country, but those leading the fight against the deadly virus are optimistic that if the current measures put in place to retard the spread of the virus are observed, there will be a drop in the numbers and maybe, finally, light at the end of a long dark tunnel. Samuel Senono, UBC News.
Now, the public was this week advised on community prescriptions, use of herbal remedies and self-medication. This was at an awareness briefing by the Ministry of Health in partnership with health experts and Twaweza Uganda about COVID-19 in Kampala.
Let's share this message widely so that people are involved in it.
The head of Natural Chemotherapeutics Research Institute, Dr. Grace Nambatya-Chayune, says there is no herbal medicine approved as of yet to treat COVID-19.
Notified products that can be useful, I say useful, not cure, because at notified level you've not yet proven cure, are there in the market, and our institution has one notified product which is well indicated for chest infections. This is a product made from a renowned plant called Wabugia ugandensis, and we wouldn't say it's a cure, but of course we look out to see as patients take it, because we get people who really we register their status. We as yet a herbal product or a natural product indicated as a cure.
Nambatya, however, warns against the use of marijuana as a therapy against COVID-19.
Itself has many varieties, and there is one that majorly features cannabinoids that are important and has trace amounts of the THC that is bad. But now, since they look alike, it's very difficult to know who is using the bad one and the good one, in a sense that the country needs legal frameworks to protect the public. Because when you look at the bad side of it, I'm telling you, it can explain the youth going into crime, weird things happening.
The President Pharmaceutical Society of Uganda, Pamela Achi, says self-medication is a common practice among families and has both benefits and problems.
Medication has a negative connotation. However, there are some benefits of self-medication. Number one is that there is increase in access to medication. And I know many of you here, or all of us here, if you, for example, want medicine, you'll be able to access it. Go to a place and access medicine for headache, and you'll treat that headache. So there's a benefit. So you have relief. The resistance that we have in this country is a big problem. Resistance is not just something that the researchers say there's resistance. It means when I treat you with it next time,
you will not heal.
She, however, advises the public to always seek proper prescriptions.
In terms of self-medication, it is a very difficult situation, it is a risky situation, and we ask that the public will try as much as possible to avoid self-medication and referral or prescription among families and among members. It is important we consult.
Winnie Nambata enlightened the public about the pros and cons of home-based care management.
Medicine is not part of the home-based care because of its terrible side effect, which is the cardiotoxicity. Like, it has bad effects on the heart. So while the patient in home-based care is taking their medications, there are no resources to monitor cardiac activity. So it's hard to tell whether your heart is functioning really well or it's having a problem. So it's best not to have this. And also the other thing that according to the Uganda management guidelines, home management is for those patients that don't have moderate or severe COVID-19. Medication passing through milk to the baby. This is why the guidelines suggest that it is a health worker that comes to assess the COVID-19 patient. So when they find you pregnant, they'll give you a different alternative. They'll give you an alternative to a medication that is passed through breast milk. For example, the zinc case. You can actually get zinc from other sources like food. Dr. Nambata can comment on that. You can get it from red meat, you can get it from fish, you can also get it from plants.
Brian Sekayombia from National Drug Authority says they monitor the product's effectiveness among Ugandans.
National Drug Authority licenses. And how does it license? It licenses the manufacturer of the drug, whether external to Uganda or internal to Uganda. Gives us a product and we see it's okay, it's work, but then there are those effects that we may not have seen that could not be desired. We also monitor, and if these effects outweigh the benefits for which the product was put on the market, then decisions worked with the Ministry of Health can be taken about this particular product and its existence in the country.
Currently, there is no clear information about the use of COVID-19 therapy.
Will follow the specific guidelines on clinical trial for herbal medicine, which NDA has ably provided, and we will support the proprietor of COVID-19 to do that. We will do that.
Vaccinations against COVID-19 exercise are slated to resume this Monday for health workers and those receiving their second jabs. This follows government's procurement of more vaccines. Ivan Juko, UBC News.
2 out of 10 were avoiding contact.
Now, private hospitals have attributed the high charges of COVID-19 treatment to the scarcity of equipments used in treating COVID-19 patients, including drugs and utility, among others. This was disclosed during a consultative meeting with the head of State House Anti-Corruption Unit, Colonel Edith Nakalema, following the public outcry on over-exorbitant health charges by private health facilities. Take a look.
On several occasions, the public has decried the high charges of COVID-19 treatment, especially in private hospitals, which in turn has led many Ugandans to lose their lives, with no one coming to their rescue. As of now, if any patient happens to visit any private hospital for COVID-19 treatment, or she is allegedly charged between 200 and 300,000 for just a cylinder of oxygen, which costs between 40 to 50,000 from the manufacturing companies. So far, State House and Corruption Unity has received over 4,000 complaints emanating from public on high charges of COVID-19 treatment in private hospitals. It's against this backdrop that the State House and Corruption Unity has Thursday called for a consultative meeting with the owners of health facilities and stakeholders in the health department. In this meeting, Colonel Edith Nakalema accused private hospitals for hiking COVID-19 treatment, thus turning the mandated service as doctors to Ugandans into business.
Is it ethical to refuse to admit patients until they have made deposits for treatment? Is it acceptable to charge high margins for regular medicine that you planned for before COVID? Is it acceptable to hold the body of a dead person or a dead patient?
Dr. Warren Namara, the Director, Health Monitoring Unit, State House, in the meeting, accused them of the unethical practice of giving different antibiotics to patients at the same time.
In one of the hospitals, in one patient, in one day, he was given vancomycin, amikacin, ciprofloxacin, erythromycin. Are we selling drugs or we are treating patients? In another one night, ciprofloxacin, vancomycin, another injection of something that I can't even tell.
He, however, urged them to have Ubuntu in rendering services to Ugandans by reducing costs on intensive care unit and medicine in this trial moment of fighting the pandemic.
You can't charge amoxicillin at 36,000 shillings per dose. No, our payment is in the benefit of the patient. If a patient heals, that's our gratification.
In responding to their cry, owners of private hospitals decried the scarcity of oxygen, utility bills as one of the bases of increasing COVID-19 treatment charges.
Because government facilities get these things for free, but private facilities have to grapple with the supplier, with the medical stores.
So it's not even the cost of the refilling of the tank. It's about the logistics that are involved in mobilizing those tanks.
But the reality is to run a ventilator for 24 hours without switching it off not only affects your electricity, but also affects the ventilator itself.
Without eliminating the challenge of inadequacy of intensive care units in government hospitals, they also want to be provided with fairly adequate medical credit funds to allow them access loans.
We'd like to get some support to set up oxygen plants at especially the hospital level facilities, because that will offset the joint challenge we're all facing. We humbly request that in the future, medium to long term, we increase the number of ICU beds in the government high-level tertiary facilities.
Reaching at the way forward to the challenge of high charges of COVID-19 treatment, owners of private hospitals have promised to give a final conclusion on this matter come Monday next week. Deborah Namamonde, Ivan Juko, UBC News.
Therefore, understanding this model. Excuse me, lady. Who do you think you are? A queen?
Hey, haven't you heard? Get Airtel Chillax bundles and browse like a queen.
Get Airtel Chillax bundles that do not expire and browse like a queen or king. Dial *175# or use My Airtel app.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Fellow Ugandans, you know that the current COVID-19 period is a trying time in our lives. However, we still have another threat that has been with us for a long time, and it is called neglected tropical diseases, also known as NTDs. NTDs include bilharzia and worms that cause swollen stomachs. Trachoma causes blindness, and elephantiasis causes the swelling of legs. These diseases are affecting millions globally, and yet they can be prevented by regular hand washing with soap and clean running water, regular washing of the face with a soap and clean running water, keeping dirty hands away from your eyes, always using pit latrines, and discouraging open defecation in your community to avoid flies that carry germs, reporting to the health facility early when feeling unwell. Remember to stay safe and protect yourself. This message is from the Ministry of Health with support from Ascend Project.
Guess what happened yesterday? Guy entered the what? The taxi. But the pregnancy is from the what? The generator. Then my phone does toot, and the toothbrush breaks in the what? In the porridge. Then I call who?
Wait, what?
First wait, I am still telling you. Then the jerrycan does what?
Love to talk? MTN My Paka Paka now has more minutes. Get My Paka Paka voice bundles to talk and talk at no extra charge. Dial *160*1# to activate My Paka Paka.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
What does it mean to be closer together? It's taking the last bus home for a surprise visit. Closer together is strangers finding a connection. It's bringing home something much more than a box. It's the warmth of home, or the beginning of something new. There's magic in sharing the things that we love, because it's those things that bring us close together.
Welcome back from that commercial break. You're still watching UBC News Roundup. I'm Lauryn, Masika, Kazimoto. Now into business news this afternoon. The Anti-Corruption Unit this week charged 4 Ministry of Education and Sports officials with counts of corruption and abuse of office. The accused, who pleaded not guilty to the alleged offences, however, were later released on cash bail of 9 million Uganda shillings after presenting each 2 substantial sureties. Take a look.
Officers from Ministry of Education and Sports who appeared before the Anti-Corruption Court for pre-taking include Edward Frederick Rubanga, Doreen Matovuranga, Haji Abdurun Soboga, and Solomon Kaigia. Before Magistrate Moses Navende, the 4 were slapped with 5 counts of corruption, abuse of office, conspiracy to defraud, among other offences. However, they pleaded not guilty to the alleged offences.
Abuse of office, contrary to Section 11(1) of the Anti-Corruption Act, between August 2019 and March 2020, while employed by Minister of Education as a civil engineer, did an arbitrary act to the prejudice of her employer, to which she irregularly issued variant contract terms and specifications to the contractor without following the PPDA laws and contract agreements.
After charge, prosecution led by Harriet Angom informed the court that inquiries are still ongoing in this matter, thus asking court for more time. The accused were represented by their lawyers, Abudu Mayanja, Richard Igabo, and Faidi Bazanya. They prayed to court to be granted bail, which was not objected by state. Magistrate Moses Navende, after listening to both sides' submissions, was pleased to grant all the accused bail.
For accused persons, A1, in light of the charges against him, he shall deposit cash of 4 million to the bank before you can do it. For A2, in light of the charges against her, he shall deposit 2 million cash. And for A3 and 4, considering the charges against them, each shall deposit 1.5 million cash. Once you present the receipts, you shall be released.
Prosecution contains that Frederick Edward Lubanga between August 2019 and March 2021 in Kampala district, being employed by the Minister of Education as an architecture assistant and in the performance of his duties, solicited for gratification of 50 million for himself from Nsimbi Zizinga Robert as an inducement to conduct due diligence for his company, Synergy Enterprise Limited, and recommended it for contract award. Court resumed on 4th August 2021 for mention. Deborah Namamonde, Ivan Juko, UBC News.
Man, guess what happened yesterday? Guy entered the what? The taxi. But the pregnancy is from the what? The generator. Then my phone does tutu. And the toothbrush breaks in the what? In the porridge. Then I call who?
Wait, what?
First wait, I am still telling you. Then the jerrycan does what?
Love to talk? MTN My Paka Paka now has more minutes. Get My Paka Paka voice bundles to talk and talk at no extra charge. Dial *160*1# to activate My Paka Paka.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite shows.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
Airtel Uganda has the best and most affordable rates when it comes to withdrawing and sending money. Withdraw money for as low as 330 shillings up to a maximum of 12,500 shillings. Sending money is just as affordable as ever. Absolutely unbeatable. Use Airtel Money on the most affordable network with the largest network of Airtel Money branches in Uganda. Dial *185# to get started. Airtel Money. Simple, secure, borderless.
And now into sports. Organizers of the Tokyo Olympics and Paralympics on Thursday unveiled a plan to deploy as many as 18,000 private security guards for the Tokyo Olympics per day, in addition to police forces in the entire period of the Games. During the events, private security will be deployed at 43 Olympic venues and surrounding areas alongside police forces. At present, a total of 553 private security companies are in charge of security at the venues and surrounding areas. Private security guards will not only be designated to patrol the main places and check the luggage, but will also take up the function of directing the traffic surrounding the venues. The organizing committee said the availability of manpower is ensured and that it has also made full preparation to deal with possible accidents. The spectator limit for the Olympic Games will be set at 50% of the venue capacity, up to a maximum of 10,000 people at each venue. If the COVID-19 epidemic continues to worsen, the events may be held without spectators, and the committee will adjust the number of security guards according to the actual condition. Thank you so much for your company this lovely afternoon. Do enjoy the rest of the day, but also remember to keep safe from COVID-19. It is real and it's still here. Be blessed. I'm Lauryn Masika Kazimoto.